Hey folks, so I'm back again, recording another video. Um, this time it's to give some updates about my condition and some testing I had done. If you want all the details, you can go look at my GoFundMe page, which you can find through my Facebook, uh, Donald Nicely. You can look me up there. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I go into a lot of detail there about how a couple weeks ago I was able to get, about 3 weeks ago, actually, I was able to get access to Medicaid and got an appointment scheduled with a GI doc. And due to the severity of my condition, not condition, but symptoms, they got me scheduled right away for a colonoscopy and an endoscopy. Um, I did have to push for it a little bit, but my gut was telling me that this is something that doesn't need to wait any longer or much longer. So what I'm on to report now is what the outcomes from those scopes were, and I had put an update on uh, my GoFundMe page. Uh, because I thought I had a clear understanding based on what the surgeon had told the friend of mine that was with me at the procedure, uh, what they conveyed to me and what I read in my chart from the test results. I thought I had a pretty good understanding of where things were at, what was going on. And so I typed this big long update. It actually had to be two different updates because uh, I went over the word limit for an update. Then the GI doctor's office calls me today to review the results. Literally just a couple hours after I had posted this update, and and most of the stuff I was right about, but there were a couple critical pieces that I was not right about. So I'm just going to review what all the outcomes were, and I'm sure that'll take longer than I expect it to, so I probably won't go into a lot of other detail. But I'll get back on at some point and talk about what this is going to look like for me moving forward. So a couple less serious concerns. Uh, they removed polyps from my colon, my lower intestine, lower large intestine, um, and the biopsies came back. Biopsy results came back, and those were non-malignant. They were benign. So no signs of cancer in my colon or anything. So that was great. Um, they found some pretty severe internal hemorrhoids, uh, which they judged were probably contributing to some of the bleeding that I had. Um, uh, the more serious thing that they found was diverticulosis uh, and diverticulitis. Um, and basically, the easiest way to explain it is the diverticulosis is like the dormant diverticulitis or the unaggravated. So it's these um, uh, uh, pouches uh, that form in your colon. Um, uh, uh, and uh, they form in weak parts of your colon. It's where the internal wall pushes through. I'm trying to find all this information in here where I typed it. I'm sorry if I seem a little scattered, but I don't have it all memorized. Um, uh, but these pouches, these uh, diverticula, I think they call it singular. When these pouches become infected with fecal matter, um, they can fill with blood, they become inflamed, very sore. When these pouches burst, they cause bleeding. The infection can spread to your stomach lining. Um, uh, can cause you to go through diarrhea, bouts of diarrhea and constipation. It can make urination painful. Um, so, the changes I've made to my eating, uh, and helped the diverticulitis clear up. So, I was successful in with traditional treatments and alternative treatments, non-modern or Western approaches to healing. I was successful at getting rid of the inflammation and the infection, which was great. I mean, it was really crappy going through all of that. uh, but I was able to overcome that. And uh, so, according to Western medicine, the only thing that can be done is to make changes to my diet that will hopefully uh, keep me from having flare ups of the diverticulitis. And if I do have flare ups, taking anti inflammatory meds and antibiotics and resting my colon is how that's treated. Um, they don't believe there's any cure for it. There are, Ayurvedic practices that I've read a little bit about, uh, herbs, different things that can uh, help heal the colon, to rebuild the colon. Uh, so, I intend to try to seek that treatment and follow that approach, um, because I think that's important. And one thing I discovered, I was doing some more research about my eating problems, because the more people I talk to, the more I talk about it in videos that I'm posting and things. I get more people saying, dude, that you got to do something about that. That seems like a psychological disorder, and I know this. um, but I don't get a lot of credit didn't used to get a lot of credit for that. But I did some more research recently, looking things up, and I found that in the DSM 5, there is a diagnosis referred to as avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. And it's only been in recent years that they've been diagnosing adults with this disorder. It's something that has typically been held for infants and children. Um, but clearly, they're discovering that there's a lot more people like me who grow into adulthood, um, and and have horrible eating habits. And so it's categorized by uh, uh, opposition to food based on smell, texture, color, look, all of these things that are right up my alley. Like, those are all the things that bother me. It's not even so much about the flavor. All they do include taste and that diagnosis as being a potential component. Um, so that was good. Bad news is, I was in touch with two mental health providers who basically dismissed my claims. I called. I'm like, hey, this is the problem I'm experiencing. I read about this diagnosis. I'm wondering, if I can see you or somebody in your office about this. And it was basically, that we don't recognize that as a behavioral disorder, and you need to see a dietitian. So even though, there's people out there that are seeing this in adults and treating it, apparently not all mental health providers are buying into it. So that was disappointing. But I did research food disorder clinics and centers, and I intend to call some of them in the next couple of days to see if I can make any headway with that. Even though I have Medicaid now, I'm not feeling very hopeful that Medicaid will cover any kind of long-term treatment around something like that. But I'm going to pursue it and see what happens. Uh, the other two pieces of news from the colonoscopy and endoscopy, which are probably the two most critical, is that they think so. Let me back up. So I had originally reported that they had removed a single polyp from my esophagus, and that the surgeon did not think it was cancerous. And what I was informed of today is that there were multiple polyps that they removed from my esophagus, and the biopsy results came back and they were precancerous. So while I'm not overwhelmingly upset about that, it raises concern. And deep breath. So I have to go back for another scope in 2 months to make sure that they got it all, and or that there's not anything growing back. So it could be nothing. I mean, it could be they got it all. It had not developed into cancer yet. So precancerous basically means that they are abnormal cells that, while they haven't developed into cancer yet, have the potential of developing into cancer. So it sounds like maybe it was caught early enough that it had not started to develop into cancer, and so long as there's not additional growth, the expectation is that I would be okay at that point, and they would recommend regular scopes every 3 to 5 years to follow up and check on that unless I'm having problems. One benefit of them having cut out the polyps is the pressure that I was feeling in my chest, and the pain and the difficulty swallowing is basically gone. It's like, wow, overnight, just gone. So I'm really stoked about that. The other thing is they said that there was a lot of inflammation in my esophagus, which they judge is likely due to food allergies. So I have to go tomorrow for a blood test, and when I follow up with the GI's office next week, I'll get the results of that. So there's 6 main foods they're looking at that I could potentially be allergic to that might cause that. One is wheat or gluten, which is pretty standard these days, which is a whole nother thing I'd like to get into and talk about at some point. Peanuts and tree nuts, fish and shellfish, and I don't eat peanuts or tree nuts or fish or shellfish. So the other 4 things that it could be is wheat, milk, which would then include a lot of other dairy products, most other dairy products, maybe all other dairy products, eggs, and soy. I don't drink a lot of soy. I don't drink any soy. Why am I saying I don't drink a lot? I don't drink any soy milk or anything like that, but I know soy is an additive in almost every food out on the shelves, from what I understand from a little bit of research. And so the struggle for me with that is there are literally only about 15 to 20 foods that I am able to eat right now that don't seem to bother my stomach too much, based on what foods I like. And if I have to cut out wheat, milk, egg, um, that's going to severely, uh, it's going to restrict quite a bit of the little bit of stuff that I am able to eat. um, so I'll basically be living off of fruits and supplements. And while that's not funny, that's nervous laughter. I got fear. I got tears that, want to come out uh, at this moment. And it's a scary place to be. Um, you know, the Yeah, to think, if I don't find a way to get past these emotional, psychological blocks I have to food, that, I mean, my diet, if I want to live healthy and feel good, um, might just consist of fruit and supplements. Um, yeah, that's a hard pill to swallow. Uh, so, my situation has changed a little bit, in that I have this Medicaid, uh, and that I've been able to get some testing. So, it's not like I'm at immediate risk of dying or anything right now at this point, and that's great. So it alleviates some of my immediate need to, like, get to India and do the things I was originally planning on doing. Although I still think, based on my preliminary reviews and contact with mental health providers, it does seem like that might still be my only option to work on my eating disorders. Um, but it's not as much of an emergency. So, I was originally planning on taking my fundraiser down up until I talked to the sorry, there's a lot of police and stuff going by outside right now. Um, uh, but based on, this new information, based on needing to have this follow-up care, uh, I'm going to keep the fundraiser in place. The only reason I have Medicaid is because I was feeling too bad to be able to work and earn money. And now as I start to feel better and continue feeling better, I should be getting back to work. Um, but if I do that, I'm going to lose the Medicaid, and then I'm not going to have money to get follow up treatment. I already have almost $10,000 in medical bills that I've accrued over the last 3 months prior to getting approved for Medicaid a couple weeks ago, um, that I have hanging over my head. And yeah, so I don't know. It's all a bit overwhelming to even try to think about and convey to all of you properly. But I'm going to keep my fundraiser going. I posted updates so, everybody's clear on, where things stand and where things are at. I'm posting this video. I still hope many of you will continue to contribute and support me because, I need to try and get those medical bills paid down. One of the thoughts I had was to make sure people are aware that almost $10,000 in medical debt is after receiving a 50% discount through UC Hospital and Christ Hospital. The actual bills were much higher than that. So, I can still use money to help pay that off. I can still use money to help with bills. Um, because I'm not going to be able to work very much and still keep the Medicaid. Uh, yeah, so that's just the long and short of it, and continues to be a scary and precarious place to be, and yet there's parts of me that still feel hopeful uh, about the changes this is creating in my life, and how I might. Live the rest of my life in a more healthy way and set a better example for my kids and my grandkids and for you guys and for the community at large. And yeah, just keep me in your thoughts. It's going to be a difficult road to hoe for quite a while still, as I try to work through mainly these eating disorders. A lot of cancer, is related to what we put in our bodies. And so if I can't get past these eating disorder and start to do something different in that way, then I don't have much chance that things are going to get better. But I'm committed to making the change. I'm committed to being vulnerable and open about trying to make those changes. I'm going to continue to post videos of my progress, of my setbacks, of my struggles, and how I get through these eating problems and so forth. You guys will all be a part of that, because I want that to uh, be a model for others. Thanks.